The human stood alone in the center of the alien royal hall. He was not a hero. He was not a soldier. He was not important. He was just a translator. His name barely mattered in this place. No banners carried his symbol. No guards followed him. No one feared him. Around him rose pillars of black crystal and living metal. The ceiling moved slowly, like a night sky full of stars. Thousands of alien eyes watched him without blinking. This was the heart of the Empire, a place where entire species were judged, where wars were approved with a single gesture, and standing above them all was the alien queen, silent, calm, untouchable. Her throne floated slightly above the floor. Her face showed no emotion, but no one was watching the queen. All eyes were on the one who stood beside her throne, the queen's bodyguard. She was tall, powerful, and terrifying. Her armor looked grown, not built. Her skin carried scars from battles no one here remembered. Her eyes were cold and sharp. Across the galaxy, her name was spoken carefully. She had ended rebellions alone. She had killed warlords with her bare hands. She had never lost a fight. And most frightening of all, she had never laughed. Not once. Not in victory. Not in bloodshed. Not in peace. The human felt her presence, like pressure on his chest. He knew one wrong word could end his life. He had translated threats, treaties, and ultimatums for hours. The tension in the hall was thick. A border dispute between empires hung in the air. One sentence could mean peace. One mistake could mean war. The human swallowed and finished translating the final line. His voice echoed softly through the chamber. For a moment, there was silence. Heavy, dangerous silence. The queen turned her gaze to her bodyguard, as if asking for judgment. The bodyguard stepped forward one slow step. Her armor shifted with a low sound. Her eyes locked onto the human. The human felt his hands shake. He had spent years learning alien languages, but not alien customs. Trying to calm himself, trying to break the tension. He did the most human thing possible. He smiled, looking at the bodyguard. He spoke softly. "You're amazing," he joked. The words left his mouth before his brain could stop them. The entire hall froze. Alien diplomats stiffened. Generals reached for weapons. Servants stopped breathing. Insult or praise? No one knew which it was. The queen's eyes narrowed. Her guards shifted into attack positions. The human realized too late. This might have been a mistake. Then something impossible happened. The bodyguard laughed. It was not loud. It was not wild. It was a short sound, sharp and surprised. But it was laughter. The hall exploded into silent shock. Some aliens recoiled in fear. Others stared as if reality had cracked. The bodyguard tilted her head slightly, studying the human with new interest. Then she spoke clearly, so all could hear. "Then you are my husband." Silence returned, deeper than before. The human felt his heart drop. His smile vanished. His mind raced. Husband. That word did not mean what he thought it meant here. The queen stood abruptly, her calm finally broken. Her voice cut through the chamber. "What did you say?" she demanded. The bodyguard did not look away from the human. She repeated calmly. "He claimed worth. I accepted. He is bound to me." Weapons activated across the hall. Energy fields shimmered to life. The human took a small step back. This was not a joke. This was not flirting. This was law. His translator implant flooded his thoughts with definitions. Bond. Claim. Blood vow. His mouth went dry. He had accidentally triggered something ancient. The queen raised one hand. All guards stopped instantly. She descended slowly from her throne. Her voice was quiet, controlled, and dangerous. She looked directly at the human and asked one calm question. Do humans understand marriage or war? If you enjoy deep sci-fi stories like this, gently consider subscribing to the channel. More worlds and moments like this are coming. The human opened his mouth, but no words came out, and in that silence, an empire waited. The silence after the queen's question did not fade. It grew heavier, like gravity pressing down on every living thing in the hall. The human stood frozen. His mind searched for words that could not exist in this place. He was a guest, a translator, not someone who understood alien marriage laws or blood vows. He finally spoke carefully. My queen, it was humor. In human culture, words like that mean respect, not claim. The queen's eyes stayed on him, but she did not answer. Instead, the bodyguard moved. She stepped between the human and the throne, her massive frame blocking every weapon aimed at him. Her armor shifted, alive and ready. A low sound escaped her throat, a warning, not spoken, but understood by every warrior in the room. The generals stiffened. Several of them exchanged quick looks. This was not protection. This was possession. One of the senior generals spoke, his voice sharp. He insults ancient law. He must answer for it. The bodyguard turned her head slowly. Her eyes locked onto the general, cold and final. He did not insult, she said. He claimed without knowing. That is not crime. The human felt her presence like a shield, but also like chains. Another general stepped forward, her voice smooth and dangerous. If this bond stands, the queen's shadow now walks with a human. That shifts power. Whispers spread across the hall. Political calculations, forming in real time. The queen finally raised her hand. The room quieted instantly. Explain. The queen said, her voice controlled. Explain this law slowly. The bodyguard inclined her head, not in submission, but in respect. My species is older than this empire, she said. We were forged before crowns. We guard rulers, not for gold, but for oath. She turned slightly, still shielding the human. When we choose a mate, it is not desire. It is judgment. Worth recognized. The human's chest tightened. This was getting worse. The bodyguard continued. A chosen mate is bound by blood law. The bond cannot be denied. To refuse is challenge. A pause. A dangerous one. Challenge ends in death, she added calmly. The words echoed through the hall. Not shouted. Not dramatic. Just truth. The human felt cold spread through him. He spoke quickly, panic slipping into his voice. I did not choose. I did not understand. I meant no challenge. The bodyguard looked down at him, her expression unreadable. You spoke, Worth, she said. That is enough. The queen's fingers tightened slightly, a sign only her closest advisors recognized. Her authority was being tested. If the bond is law, the queen said, then why was I not consulted? A murmur rippled through the court. The bodyguard turned to face her queen fully now. I guard your life, she said, not your control over my blood. The room felt like it might explode. Several generals shifted positions, not to attack the bodyguard, but to mark the human. To them, he was no longer weak. He was leverage. One general whispered too loudly. If he lives, humans gain favor. If he dies, treaties shift. The human heard it and understood something terrifying. He was now protected and hunted. The bodyguard sensed the threat instantly. Her stance widened. Her armor hardened. No one touches him, she warned. Her voice carried promise, not threat. The queen stepped forward. Her presence forced even the bodyguard to still. This cannot continue unchecked, the queen said. If ancient law stands, it will be tested. The human looked at her, fear clear on his face. Tested how? He asked quietly. The queen's gaze moved from him to the gathered court, then back again. There is only one path, she said. The trial of bond. The word struck like a blade. The generals straightened. Some smiled. Some frowned. The bodyguard's eyes narrowed. You risk much, she said to the queen. The queen did not look away. So do you, she replied. She raised her voice so all could hear. If the human survives the trial, the bond stands. If he fails. She paused, letting the silence do the damage. Humanity loses its protection treaty, she finished. The human felt the weight of billions settle onto his shoulders. He had joked, and now entire worlds waited for the outcome. The queen turned away. The trial will begin soon, she declared. As guards moved to escort them, the human realized the truth. He was no longer a guest. He was no longer safe. He was standing in the shadow of the queen, where survival meant becoming something more, and failure meant extinction. The training chamber was older than the palace itself. Its walls were marked by claws, blades, and burns from ancient trials. This was where warriors were broken, or proven worthy. The human stood at the center of the room, unarmed, unarmored, and clearly out of place. The Queen's bodyguard watched him closely, her posture relaxed but alert, like a predator studying something unfamiliar. Around them, alien observers gathered, generals, champions, and envoys from other species. They whispered openly. They did not fear the human. That is the mate, one hissed. He has no muscle, no fangs, no armor. The human heard them. He did not respond. The bodyguard stepped forward. Show me strength, she ordered. Her voice carried expectation. The human looked at the massive training weapon placed before him, a heavy blade designed for alien hands. He tried to lift it, failed. Laughter echoed through the chamber, mocking and sharp. The human stepped back, embarrassed. I am not strong like you, he admitted. The bodyguard tilted her head, confused. You stand before trial, she said. Why bring weakness? The human thought for a moment, then answered honestly, because it is what I have. That answer did not satisfy the crowd. More laughter followed. The bodyguard ordered combat drills, speed tests, endurance trials. The human failed most of them. He moved slower. He tired faster. His strikes lacked force. By alien standards, he was hopeless. Yet something strange happened. During a simulated ambush, when training drones surrounded him, instead of charging, he stepped back and spoke calmly. He studied patterns, watched movement, predicted timing. When the drones attacked together, he moved where they were not fast, just early. The bodyguard noticed. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Later, during a rest period, she observed him from a distance. She had access to restricted data. She used it without permission. Human history, human wars, human survival. She learned quietly, reading about species-wide conflicts, long wars without victory, civilizations rebuilding after ruin. Her confusion deepened. Why did a species so fragile still exist? The next day, other species joined the training. Some challenged the human openly. One towering alien warrior blocked his path. Move, soft mate, the warrior growled. The human looked up at him, then past him, toward a smaller servant struggling under heavy equipment. The servant slipped. The load nearly crushed him. The warrior laughed and stepped aside. This is not your concern, he said. The human spoke calmly. If he falls, your equipment breaks. If it breaks, your trial delays. The warrior paused, logic forcing hesitation. The human continued. I will help him lift. You will keep your schedule. The warrior considered this, then nodded reluctantly. Together they moved the load safely. The servant survived. The trial continued. The bodyguard watched this quietly. Later, she confronted the human privately. Why help? She asked. He is weak. The human shrugged lightly. So am I, he said. That does not make us useless. That answer stayed with her. Whispers spread across the palace. The mate does not fight. He talks. He smiles. Some laughed. Some grew uneasy. That night, the bodyguard stood outside his chamber, guarding him silently. She spoke without turning. Your kind avoids direct battle, she said. The human answered softly. We fight when we must. But first, we try not to. The bodyguard finally looked at him, her voice lower now. Not mocking, not threatening. You survive wars without claws, she said quietly. How? The human did not answer immediately. And in that pause, the bodyguard realized something unsettling. Humans were not weak. They were different. And difference was often more dangerous than strength. The palace returned to a careful calm. Too careful. Too quiet. The human noticed it first. Not with instinct, but with habit. On Earth, silence after attention meant danger. The Queen's court smiled again. Ceremonies continued. Food was served. Music returned. But eyes followed the human everywhere. Not curious eyes. Measuring eyes. The Queen's bodyguard stayed close. Her senses sharp. Her presence heavy. She trusted strength. She trusted weapons. She trusted threats she could see. That was the mistake. The meal was formal. Crystal dishes floated in the air. Alien delicacies steamed softly. A servant approached the human. bowed deeply, and placed a small cup beside him. The bodyguard scanned the room. No sudden movement, no raised weapon, no hostile stance. The cup passed inspection. The human lifted it, paused, smelled it lightly. Nothing seemed wrong. He drank. It took seconds. His fingers trembled first. Then the cup slipped from his hand, shattered on the floor. The bodyguard turned instantly. Too late. The human staggered. His breath came sharp and uneven. His vision blurred. Poison. Silent, clean, invisible. The hall erupted. Guards rushed forward. Weapons activated. The bodyguard caught him before he fell. Her arms tightened around him. Her voice broke discipline for the first time. "Medic," she roared. The queen rose slowly, her face unreadable, but her eyes burned. The human gasped. His heart raced. His body burned from the inside. Alien healers surrounded him, scanning, injecting, panicking. "Unknown compound," one said, "designed to stop neural flow." Another added, "It should be fatal." The bodyguard's grip tightened. Her breathing changed. Fast, dangerous. Minutes passed. Long ones. Then the human stopped shaking. His breathing slowed. His heart stabilized. The healers froze. Their instruments screamed confusion. "He is alive," one whispered. The queen stepped closer. "Explain," she commanded. The lead healer hesitated. "Human biology," he said carefully. "The toxin attack systems he does not rely on." It slowed him, but it could not stop him. Shock rippled through the court. The poison was illegal, expensive, designed to kill high-ranking alien targets. And it had failed. The human opened his eyes, pain still in his face, but awareness clear. The bodyguard looked down at him, her voice low, shaken. "You should be dead." He managed a weak smile. "Earth tried harder," he said softly. Some aliens laughed nervously. Others stepped back. Across the room, several generals went pale. The enemy had revealed itself, and failed. That failure was worse than success. Whispers spread fast. Poison does not work. Humans adapt. They survive mistakes. The queen watched silently, her mind calculating. This was no longer about one human. This was about a species that reacted strangely to control. The bodyguard escorted him to a secure chamber, her steps heavy, her silence louder than anger. Inside the chamber, she stood still for a long time. "I failed," she said finally. Not to him, but to herself. He sat slowly, still weak. "You look for blades," he replied. "They used a cup." She turned sharply, her eyes intense. "They tried to kill what I claimed." He met her gaze, calm despite pain. "They will try again," he said. Outside, the queen addressed the court, her voice cold and sharp. "An attempt has been made," she announced. "The offender will be found." But inside her thoughts, fear grew. Not fear of the bodyguard, not fear of rebellion, fear of humanity, a species that survived poison, that joked under pressure, that bonded by accident. The bodyguard knelt beside the human, something rare in her posture. She realized how close she came to losing him. Not to battle, not to challenge, but to subtlety. The human rested back, his voice calm, steady. "They won't stop," he said quietly, "because I'm alive." And in that moment, both the queen and her shadow understood. The trial ahead was no longer ceremonial. It was inevitable. The palace did not sleep after the poisoning. It watched. It listened. It calculated. The human recovered slowly, his body weak, but his mind clear. The bodyguard remained near him at all times, closer than duty required. Her silence now felt different. Not distant, not cold, focused. During one quiet cycle, she finally asked what no alien had dared to ask. Why did the poison fail? The human leaned back carefully, thinking how to explain centuries in simple words. "Our world is violent," he said softly, "not because we want it, but because it happened." She listened without interrupting. "We fought each other," he continued. "Then nature. Then hunger. Then sickness." He paused. "Every time we thought we were finished, we rebuilt." The bodyguard frowned slightly. "Your records show near extinction," she said. "Many times." He nodded. Yes. Silence followed. On Earth, he added, survival is normal. Peace is rare. That sentence stayed with her. Word spread quickly. Generals gathered again. Voices sharpened. This human is unstable, one said. He normalizes destruction. The bodyguard stepped forward. Her armor resonated softly. He explains reality, she said. You fear it. Another general scoffed. He survives poison. That is luck. The bodyguard's eyes flashed. Luck does not repeat, she replied. The room quieted. Meanwhile, far from the court, the Queen accessed sealed intelligence channels, ancient permissions, forbidden archives, Earth, humanity. She did not look for heroes. She looked for patterns. Wars without pause. Nations destroyed and reborn. Weapons that scarred worlds. She saw cities erased, then rebuilt larger. She saw humans lose millions, then argue, then adapt. She paused on one record, a species nearly wiped out by its own technology, that survived by changing itself. Her breath slowed. These were not conquerors. They were survivors. Back in the training halls, a group of alien envoys mocked openly. The soft mate teaches stories. He should teach surrender. Before the human could respond, the bodyguard stepped between them. You speak without understanding, she warned. One envoy laughed nervously. He bleeds, he said. He almost died. The bodyguard answered calmly. So did his world. That silenced them. Later, she stood beside the human on a high balcony, stars drifting slowly overhead. You adapt faster than law, she said. You bend danger. He smiled faintly. We don't bend it, he replied. We live inside it. She considered this. Her respect no longer hidden. In the Queen's chamber, the last report finished loading. Human war doctrine, human psychology, human fear responses. The Queen sat back slowly. Humans did not rush toward dominance. They endured until dominance arrived by accident. They did not seek extinction. They survived it. She looked out at the empire she ruled. Strong, ordered, predictable, and imagined what would happen if humans were truly threatened. The thought unsettled her. The Queen returned to the court later that cycle, her expression unreadable, her voice low. She dismissed advisors, sent guards away. Alone, she whispered to herself, barely louder than breath. We invited predators who don't look like predators. And for the first time since her rise to power, the Queen of the Empire felt something close to fear. The court gathered one final time, not for ceremony, not for debate, but for decision. The throne room felt smaller now, crowded with fear and expectation. The Queen stood alone at the center, no advisors beside her, no guards behind her. Her voice carried without effort. The trial of Bond ends today, she announced. A wave of reaction moved through the Empire's representatives. Some leaned forward with interest. Others tightened their stance in anger. The human stood before the throne, hands open, no weapon, no armor. The Queen's bodyguard stood beside him, closer than ever, her posture unyielding. If this ended in death, she would follow. The Queen looked at them both. By law, she said, the bond is complete or broken. Completion grants power. Refusal demands blood. The words echoed like judgment. A general stepped forward. End this, he demanded. The human destabilizes balance. Another answered sharply. He strengthens it. The empire was split, clear lines drawn in silence. The Queen raised her hand. Enough. She turned to the human. You are offered survival through bond, she said, or execution through refusal. The human inhaled slowly. He had expected fear. He felt something else. Responsibility. He looked across the hall, at faces that did not belong to his world, at lives that could be lost because of him. He spoke clearly. I will not let war begin over me. Gasps followed. The Queen narrowed her eyes. You refuse protection, she asked. I refuse fear, he replied calmly. The bodyguard turned sharply toward him. You challenge death, she warned. He met her gaze. I choose trust, he said. The room went silent. He continued. Humans do not win by fear. We survive by connection. By standing beside others, not above them. Some laughed softly. Others listened carefully. The queen stepped closer. "And what do you offer instead?" she asked. He did not hesitate. "Alliance," he said. "Not enforced. Chosen." He gestured around the hall. "Your empire is strong, but strength alone fractures." The bodyguard watched him closely, pride and fear mixing in her expression. The queen considered him for a long moment. She saw no threat in his stance, no deception in his voice, only belief. She turned to her generals. "If we execute him," she said, "we prove we fear difference." She turned back. "If we accept alliance, we change the future." Murmurs filled the space. The queen's bodyguard stepped forward, her voice steady. "If he falls," she said, "I fall." That statement struck deeper than any weapon. The queen looked at her shadow, at centuries of loyalty, at a warrior who had never chosen anything for herself. The queen closed her eyes briefly, then opened them, resolved. "The bond stands," she declared, "not by fear, but by choice." Shock rippled outward. She raised her voice so all could hear. "Humanity will not kneel, and this empire will not dominate." She stepped down from the throne, standing face to face with the human. "Then humanity will stand beside my throne forever." The hall erupted, some in outrage, some in awe. The bodyguard exhaled slowly, her hand brushing the human's shoulder. Alive, but outside the palace, across distant systems, other empires listened and understood something dangerous had just begun. The announcement spread across the empire faster than any fleet. The human was no longer a guest, no longer a trial subject, no longer a problem to remove. By ancient law and royal decree, he became consort, not crowned with gold, not dressed in power, but bound by choice. The ceremony was quiet, no weapons raised, no blood spilled. The queen stood tall, her voice steady. "The bond is recognized," she declared, "not as conquest, but as unity." The bodyguard stood beside the human, no longer just a shadow, now a symbol. Across the court, aliens watched with mixed emotion, fear, curiosity, reluctant respect. Other empires listened from afar, intercepting signals, reading reports twice. A warrior species had chosen a human. An empire had accepted him. That was not normal. That was not safe. Some prepared defenses. Others prepared diplomacy. On Earth, leaders received fragments of the truth. No threats, no demands, only an offer to stand together. Humans did not gain dominance. They gained space. In the palace, the bodyguard walked openly now. No longer feared only for her strength, but for what she represented. Unity without erasure. The human adjusted slowly, learning customs, learning silence, learning when words mattered. Yet he did not change completely. One quiet cycle, high above the city lights, he stood again where the story began, near the queen's shadow. The bodyguard watched the stars. Her posture relaxed for the first time. He broke the silence gently. "This place is still overwhelming," he said. She turned slightly. "You endure," she replied. He smiled. "I think that's our talent." She studied him for a long moment, then asked, "Do humans always joke when afraid?" He laughed softly. "Mostly," he admitted. The bodyguard considered this. Then something rare happened. She smiled. "Not for court, not for law, but for him." "You are still amazing," he said lightly, testing the moment. She paused, then laughed again. This time it was louder, clearer, unrestrained. The sound carried, echoing through halls and towers, across balconies and guards. Aliens stopped and looked up, recognizing something had changed. The laugh moved through the palace, then through the city, then through the empire, not as fear, but as signal, a message that strength could choose differently. Far away, in silent war rooms and distant stars, leaders adjusted plans, because something fragile had proven permanent. A human who did not conquer, did not threaten, did not dominate, yet changed everything. And so the story ended where it began, with a joke, with laughter. One joke turned a fragile human into a galactic constant.